You're listening to the Really Very Crunchy podcast with your hosts, Emily
and Jason. And I tell you what, Emily, we're phenomenal parents. I know, because we're doing an episode about parenting hacks.
Well, yeah.
Who does an episode about parenting hacks that aren't phenomenal parents like us?
That was not my thought whenever I was like, hey, we should share some of our parenting hacks. Like, we have a lot of things that don't work, but a few things in our arsenal that does work.
Yeah.
Do work.
Yeah. Do you feel like we are qualified? Because
so a child psychologist.
Do you have to be qualified?
Listen, a child psychologist who doesn't have any children would technically be qualified, right, to give parenting advice.
I don't know.
But you can't really know until you're in the throes. And everybody was the perfect parent before they had children, right?
Well, I certainly was. I was the best.
Yeah, we could spot it. Well, if you would have just handled it this way.
You're not being consistent. I see it. I see how you're parenting, and it's not right.
As with everything, life is nuanced. Parenting is nuanced. We can't understand what that child has been through, where they are in their development. Did they sleep well last night? You have to take all those things into account when parenting.
I remember when we worked at this place called Boys Town in Omaha, Nebraska. Well, it's really Boys Town in Nebraska, but we were house parents, and I remember going through the training, having the kids in the house. We didn't have kids yet, and I was thinking, oh, we've got this parenting thing.
Yeah,
man, this is like parenting training.
Well, you get like this sheet of everything their parents did wrong, basically.
Yeah.
You're even supposed to call and talk to the parents and offer suggestions.
Yeah, that's great. They definitely want to hear that from a 22-year-old.
Yeah,
who doesn't have kids.
I am just like I'm dying inside a little at some of the conversations that I had to have. I mean, it was part of my job.
Yeah.
So
you had to.
Ugh.
It's a bit ick.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I know you're 47 and have 5 kids, but really,
listen,
you should treat your son with respect.
No, that's not ever. It was more like when your son comes home for a home visit, don't let him go out with his friends, even though he really wants to. He's going to get in the path of temptation for making more mistakes. So when he's coming home for a home visit.
You haven't thought about this.
So, some of it was like, okay, really think about it. And it was all like based on the treatment plan of the child.
Yeah.
However, it does still feel a little
Excuse me, I'm best friends with his best friend's mom. I'm not going to stop. We're all going to lunch.
No, there was one kid who said his dad was in a gang, his uncle was in a gang, so like he's not leaving the gang. Yeah. He's in the gang.
You go home, it's like, well, I'm not in the gang, guys. And they're like, yeah, you are. Get out.
This is not the buttercream gang.
Right. Yeah, that's a very different gang. Although that one kid did go to Chicago.
He did.
And get in a real gang.
Yeah.
And put the buttercreamers to shame. Yeah. Anyway, it's the full moon, or it was the full moon.
Last night.
Yeah.
Well, so 2 nights ago when this comes out. Our children had sort of a wild day.
Yeah.
So
do you think it's real?
I do think it's real. I
ask that like I don't have an article ready to talk about.
I think it's real because haven't you always heard that more women go into labor on full moons?
Yeah.
And I've heard that parasites are more active on full moons, which makes
I haven't heard that
that makes me worried that our kids have parasites, though I do worm them.
You're worried that our kids have parasites.
Parasites are the root of everything, supposedly.
What? This is a thing?
Yes.
What?
If you are having health issues, you need to do a parasite cleanse.
Ugh.
All I've done
sounds horrid.
I know. Well, think about it. Our kids are outside digging in the dirt. I've wormed them. I have wormed our children.
You've wormed our kids?
Yeah. I've wormed them. I see a difference in our children, for sure. And even leading up to the full moon.
Well, I have an article that might debunk a little bit of that. I don't know. You parents out there, do you see a change in your kids on a full moon? Some people say yes. CBS News says no.
Oh, the ultimate authority in scientific studies.
Well, let's go through it really quick. All right. There's flaws. Okay. Just really quick. Kids really do sleep less when there's a full moon, but only by a few minutes, according to a new study that included children from dozens of countries.
Only a few minutes. Our kids were up an hour early today.
Oh, yeah, true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Right after the full moon?
Yeah.
Few minutes, 60, whatever. We don't really know what a few is.
They are like very consistently up at between 7 and 7:30.
Yeah.
And
it was definitely 6 today.
yes.
Yeah. What's more, the study failed to find a link between the occurrence of the full moon and kids' activity levels, debunking, they're using the word, debunking the myth that kids are more hyper during a full moon.
Wait, I didn't say hyper.
Well, okay, that's fine. Or that they have, they were hyper yesterday.
They were, yeah.
So, that's part of it's true.
But define hyper.
Yeah, there's a lot of words that I think need defining in this CBS article. But here we go. The idea that the moon has an effect on people's behavior goes back to ancient times, but studies have found little evidence to back up the idea. In the new study, researchers analyzed information from more than 5,800 children. Here's the kicker: ages 9 to 11.
When they have a better grasp
There's
on
your
their
problem right there.
Yeah.
You're testing kids. No, talk to parents. Test kids that are 3, 4, 5, 6,
7.
Let's say
8.
7, 8. There's a difference. They're going crazy.
I have a theory.
We're going to study 20-year-olds.
Are they more hyper?
We don't think it's true. We don't think it's true. We did a study of over 10,000 20-year-olds.
Too, like what? Are they at school in an environment with strict rules?
They gave them fitness trackers to see if like their activity was more elevated. Yeah.
This is actually true?
Yes. They gave them
fitness trackers. What, were they at school all day?
Probably.
So, like, there's not even necessarily the opportunity to be hyper because of a very structured set of expectations.
Down.
Okay. Anyway, here's my theory with the full moon thing. And sometimes I think I'm a little wacko.
Mm-hmm. Well, we all do a little bit. Think that you're a little wacko.
But this makes sense to me.
Okay.
Me and my vast knowledge of science.
Well, you're pulling from a deep well here. Let's go.
Okay. The moon affects the tides.
Okay.
We know that, right?
Yes.
Everyone is aware. Okay. So our bodies...
Tides being water.
And then I was thinking about like pregnant women have like a lot of fluid. If there is a full moon and the full moon causes more babies to be born on that night.
Maybe.
Like, is there something there with the moon? And then like our bodies even are made up of a significant amount of water. We're like 60% water.
Okay.
And children are even
what
higher.
Are you
like
saying?
A baby is born at like 75% water.
Okay.
I'm saying there's like an internal tide that the moon pulls on. That the moon is affecting our internal tides. And so that is what's making people crazy.
Yep. You sound insane. That sounds like complete
There are
ridiculousness.
People who my cycle is synced with the moon.
Wow.
Yeah.
Way to go. I feel like that's winning something. I don't know what. But
there is like a little internal pride there. Like I
get a little moon medal.
I must be doing like at least something right. Because there are people who try to sync their cycle to the moon by sleeping by a window with their curtains like open.
Yeah, I think we've done
so
a
that
video
the
about
moon the shines upon their womb.
See, all that sounds a little
hokey. I'm not sure that's how you're going to sync with the moon. I didn't even try to sync with the moon.
You're just that great.
It just happened.
You're just that in tune with the earth in your body. You're the epitome of being in sync with the universe.
So anyway, I think that there's like a tide. There's an internal tide.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
Okay.
So
I have trouble sleeping at night. I have heartburn. I wake up at 6 because I'm just getting old. But there's been studies before that say that the full moon, there's more crimes on full moon. I kind of want to look that up really quick. Hold on. Sorry, this is not.
What are the studies by CBS News?
Well, CBS News didn't do the study.
I know.
No, this is an actual study. Full moon and crime. The incidence of crimes reported to 3 police stations in different towns was studied to see if it varied with
3
the day.
police stations.
Not a huge sample size. Well, the period of study, but it was a long time. So the period of study covered 1978 to 1982. The incidence of crimes committed on full moon days was much higher than on all other days. New moon and 7 days after the full moon and new moon.
Not surprised.
A small peak in incidence of crime was observed on new moon days, but not as significant as the full moon. And this says the incidence of crimes on equinox and solstice days did not differ significantly from those on other days.
Who was running this study?
I don't know. The increased incidence of crimes on full moon days may be due to The increased incidence of crimes on full moon days may be due to human tidal waves.
Human tidal waves? It's real?
Pull
See,
of the
I told
moon.
you. It's in me. We're made of water. Why wouldn't we
Human
be
tidal
waves?
Wow.
I've never even heard that.
Okay. Well, congratulations, you and the study from 1982 from 3 towns in rural Mississippi or something.
And that scientists were.
It makes sense.
Right,
I mean, you're cycled up with the moon, so
there's got to be
good
something
job.
keeping me there.
I knew I had tidal waves within me, like a tidal wave. The moon is full tonight. No, okay. So we're gonna get down to some things we've read, things we've learned about since we've had 7-year-olds. One day
Since we've had 7-year-olds?
we have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old about to turn 5. So we are the ultimate authority in the entire parenting. So today we're going to talk about teenage parenting, which I feel like happens a lot. Like these parenting gurus, like they don't even have teenagers yet or something. They're just like, this is how you parent a teenager.
Well, it's sort of like, and I'm not saying that people who don't have children shouldn't talk about marriage, because obviously there's like a different marriage component.
They should talk about non-child marriage.
Yes. So I think there's
it's
different,
a different dynamic.
It's totally different. Like before we had children, if we had been married 8 years, and we could have easily been like, marriage is pretty easy.
Yeah,
We've got it. Like it's totally different when you introduce another life. And I have a hard time taking marriage advice from people who don't have children. But I'm not saying it's not valid.
Yeah, I mean, I think
just
people
like a
can
different
have
walk of life.
And I think there's value in objective advice when you're seeking it. And
right.
And I'm not saying, and I don't think you're saying either that people can't have good advice.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
People are wise.
Yes.
They're wise people.
Yes.
However,
yes,
there's probably not that full-on empathy there that is present with people who have been up in the middle of the night with toddlers growing up and everything else.
Right.
So it's yeah.
I mean, but that goes for any situation in life.
No, just parenting. Just parenting. We're talking about parenting today on the Really Very Crunchy podcast. Let's hear about some of your parenting woes in the comments. I don't know why I said
woes. Parenting wins.
Wins in the comments.
See, here it is. Positive, negative.
We've already done
optimist,
a pessimism, optimism
pessimist.
episode. We don't need to rehash anything. We got it. All right. Smile. Where did we learn about
Even
smile?
if it hurts, you just smile.
Ooh.
Another song from another church that we sing every single week.
We church hop. It's all right. No, we don't. All right. What you know about smile? What did we learn about smile? That's from
I read this book that was called like Raising Joyful Toddlers and Preschoolers. I think that's what it's called. It's written by a lady named Faith Collins. I don't really know much about her. I just like randomly found this book, okay? And I've recommended this book to several people.
and they're like,
I'm not
oh,
even sure.
no.
Yeah, I'm not even sure I read the whole book.
Uh-huh.
There was a portion of the book. See, I don't like when books repeat themselves a lot.
I don't like self-help books.
So, because it just like they're just saying the same thing over and over. You can read the first
Except yours. I like yours a lot.
20 pages and kind of get the idea. But mine, I wrote it and I was like several thousand words short. And they're like,
Could you
"No,
repeat yourself a little bit more?"
You have to get your word quota. And I'm like,
Yeah.
but I already said what I want to say. I've
Yeah.
got nothing else to say without repeating myself. They're like, you have to repeat yourself because that's the way self-help books are written.
Mhm.
Some people aren't really paying attention when they're reading, or
Yeah.
I don't know, they just need the refresher.
Well,
Anyway,
that's why you need a highlighter for your shorter self-help books.
I'm not saying to take this book and apply it to your life and follow it.
But maybe this chapter.
But this section I loved, especially when my kids were between 2 and 6. But even still, it
It
applies
works
to
for
the
me.
7-year-old. It does.
Yeah,
okay.
you smile at me.
So she says, use the acronym SMILE. Singing, movement, imagination, loving, exaggeration.
Wow. You even have notes next to you and you didn't look at them.
Yeah, because
I put the notes there just
Jason,
in case you...
I have used SMILE so much I don't need the notes.
See, I don't ever get past I. By then, I'm angry.
So what they say,
Imagination.
what Faith says is you're supposed to, and Faith has a background in like a Waldorf education, a lot of early childhood development stuff. So she's supposedly qualified to know these
who
things.
knows? Yeah. You
She
just
says,
kind of,
like,
if it's in
this
print, you
is-
just sort of assume
This
things.
is used when you're like to make children say yes, to like get them to obey, which sounds weird, but it's not like you're bribing. It's not like you're pulling them in.
Yeah.
You are pulling them in, but
Well,
you're not.
okay, so singing.
Okay.
Like,
So, if you have a task that you want your child to do, if you just say it in a sing-song voice, or think about like the cleanup song, clean up, everybody, everywhere. Like, who hasn't used that?
yeah.
And it works,
Right.
especially for little kids.
Right.
You just start singing that song, bam, they know what to do. They're doing it. They're with you. They're in it. But you can use it for other situations. So just singing.
Stop hitting your brother. That would be really nice.
I mean, maybe. I never used it that way, but so if that doesn't really work, then you can move into movement. So like, let's stomp like an elephant on our way to the bathtub. Or in my children's book, I have a little section where the child is scurrying around like a squirrel.
Well, that's
gathering nuts
imagination,
to clean
right?
up. Yeah. I mean, it's the same kind of thing.
Well, you went from movement to imagination real quick. I didn't see a segue, so I felt a little thrown. Or is that movement and imagination?
Could be both.
Wow.
Another-
And singing. I'm a little squirrel running around. But
I think-
weigh my things.
Movement
I love this.
also involves
so much. I just did all of Smile in one go. Sorry, go ahead.
movement would also be like picking your child up and zooming them around like an airplane. And I have heard like if your child is being aggressive, they're actually asking for movement. So yeah, there are certain pairs to what the behavior is.
Or they're just mean.
Well, that's sad.
Some people's
'cause
kids are mean. I mean, come on. Come on. No child is mean. They just have bad environments. That's probably true, actually.
I sort of, yeah, I'm thinking I totally can believe that.
I'm sorry. I'm just offering a different perspective. Go ahead. I don't think any kid's mean.
Smile, just like it helped me so much.
Yeah.
It helped me so much, and I feel like parents need to know about it.
So what's the hand over hand thing?
That didn't help me. That's from
Is that the same book?
Yeah, that's from the book. That's one of the examples that I was thinking of that didn't help at all. She says, like, if your child is basically being completely non-compliant, you can go behind them and do like a hand over hand situation where you literally put your hands over their hands.
Feels kind of aggressive.
Do whatever task you're asking them to do. And yeah, I could never do it without being, well, I was going to say passive aggressive, but I guess it's sort of
just aggressive.
Just like,
get your hands here. Pick this thing up now.
Like when I'm to that point,
you're past exaggeration.
It's not.
You're no longer smiling in that situation.
It's not.
We're switching over to frown, and you don't want frowning, mama. Frown. We should come up with an acronym for frown. Fierce.
Ridiculing.
Obstinate.
Yep.
Woeful. Negligent.
That's what I was going to say.
You just finally devolve into apathy and you're just like, I'm leaving. Fend for yourselves. That's frown. We're going to write the antithesis chapter of this
please
book.
Don't listen to that. The smile thing is legit and it actually works. So, like, where were we?
No, nobody said frown works. That's just what you devolve into.
Loving one of our kids, totally Alder, like totally responds to pouring on love. You like have a love campaign where you're just like cuddling him and stroking his hair,
affirming him.
Yes,
just like you're
like
great.
Totally pouring in all that you have.
One thing
all
he
the
loves
love.
to hear, and I mean anybody would love to hear this, but he especially loves to hear, you know what? I'm really glad that you're a part of our family.
Yeah.
And like that, just to him, you see
his
almost
bucket
see
fill up.
Flowers growing around his head. It's like, oh, yeah.
And
he definitely responds to that.
I mean, obviously we show our kids love every single day, but when you are like very intentional about it and you go out of your way to be affectionate and really just pour that on, I feel like we have seen a difference, a clear difference on the days that we haven't been intentional about doing that. So I think every kid is going to be different for whatever works for them, obviously. But that smile thing, that worked for me. Can you put that in the show notes?
Well, joyful toddler?
No, put the smile acronym.
Oh, noted.
Thanks.
Will do.
So they can refer back.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, it will change your life.
Yeah.
If you have small children.
Smile.
But, yeah, I mean, really, it does work for anybody.
Yeah. I mean, you use it on me. Singing. You don't use singing on me. You don't use movement on me.
Yeah, yes, I do.
Sometimes you use imagination. You love me. You don't really exaggerate. You don't use smile on adults.
You could. People connect to
Hey,
song.
Frank, did you get that report I asked for?
You could.
Ready for your PowerPoint today?
No, but like connection through music and connecting with someone is almost always the answer to getting them to do what you want them
Frank,
to do.
I see you like Nickelback. Did you get that report I asked for? So is that like the adult version of singing?
Look at this photograph.
Put it in your
PDF.
Yeah, yours was better. I bet you'd be a better rap battler than I would.
No.
Because I was like, put it in your PowerPoint. And it's like, that doesn't rhyme. But PDF, it's a good, at least slant rhyme. Yeah. Hand, can you imagine?
That's all I've got for parenting today.
Can you imagine hand over hand in the workplace? All right, Jimmy, come here. Put your hand on the mouse really hard.
Contacting HR.
Yeah.
This is a violation.
So, Jason, we've heard you've been doing a little bit too much hand over hand. We're going to have to let you go. Rogers felt very uncomfortable ever since you showed him how to do the graphs. Anyway, smile. Definitely for
Well,
toddlers.
yeah, it's definitely for kids, or your spouse. You can try it on your spouse. Let me know how that goes.
Yeah, try it on your spouse first, not a stranger.
I'm going to try it on you this week.
I will
We'll
respond
report
to
back.
whatever. Like, I want all of them to happen,
When my
especially
kids
hand over
were
hand.
really little, like 2, 3,
Mhm.
I used finger puppets a lot when we were out in public. Just you
Which would
keep
probably
a little
fall under imagination, I would think, right? Kinda?
Probably,
I don't-
yeah. You pull out a finger puppet, man, kids are listening.
Yeah, that's
There's
cool.
a finger puppet.
They don't listen
I'm
to
not talking
anything
you.
other than their
It's
parents.
the finger puppet.
It's like, well, I'll listen to the little chicken on the end of your finger, but I won't listen to you, Mom.
Well, you just keep, finger puppets are so small, totally
they're
transportable. You
easy to
keep that little finger puppet in your pocket.
Varying animals is usually the best way to
Yeah.
go. Little pigs, little chickens,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
They never know which one they're gonna get.
Oh, well, this is the obedience puppet. This one's the you're being too loud puppet. That's maybe the pig's like grouchy.
there's probably,
Guys, you're
like-
talking too loud,
Yeah.
please.
There's probably a really good parent out there listening to this right now. Like,
These guys have
this is a
no
horrible
idea what they're
This
doing.
is a horrible idea.
Smile was debunked 10 years ago. Yeah. So, well, anecdotal evidence is still evidence. So it's worked for us. Lazy parenting. Lazy in general. This happened.
Yeah, we put out a video, the Christmas tree cake video.
Yeah.
And in it, you said lazy. And when you showed it to me, I didn't know what exactly you were recording for the voiceover. And you showed me the end product and it said lazy in it. And I cringed. Like, I was like, oh.
Because of what you thought people would say, or because you felt this way? Because
lazy, people are really triggered by the word
why
lazy.
are people triggered by the word lazy? Because
nobody-
laziness happens
Yeah.
in almost everybody's life. Nobody's free of that guilt.
Yeah.
I mean, I think lazy parenting, I think at times many of us are guilty of it in moments. Moments.
Well, sometimes it's just survival.
Right. But then at that point, you're probably not calling it lazy parenting. You're just calling it survival mode.
It's what the rule is. What is the general rule of your family?
There you go.
What do you do on the daily versus the exception to the rule?
Right. It's like, okay, you're in survival mode. You do throw an iPad in front of your kid. Okay, that's not going to change the trajectory of their life. But if you're doing that constantly so that you don't have to then deal with your children's behaviors.
But what the sad thing is to me is that ultimately that's going to implode. That's not going to work. If you had just never done that, it's going to be a lot easier for you.
Yeah.
Like, you're setting yourself up for failure and hardship.
I also think we're going to see a very distinct difference in the adults who were raised on iPads versus the adults who weren't.
I
in
can
the
already
future.
see a difference in myself with getting a smartphone when I was in my 20s. Like, I think whenever, and I think a lot of people experience this, when you choose not to consume media or be on your phone as much, you are more present and you are like,
yeah. Well, you're forced to be. There's nothing else to do.
Yeah. But like, when you use your phone too much, you're easily bored.
Your
You're
dopamine
always
hits aren't as good. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Like,
It's got to be constantly fed.
so you have to like wean off of that to experience real life and enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like an addictive thing that they've created.
So basically, screens are making us lazy. Makes us lazy parents. Makes us, not us, because we're no. It's making us lazy as people. It's making us lazy as parents. It's making us lazy as a society.
Yeah, I think so.
Screens. I mean, I think you could pull it. TV, screens. We're too lazy to actually watch TV. People sit and scroll on their phone when they watch TV. That's how lazy people are.
Is that lazy or
Yes,
is it?
it's lazy. How much of their time? Look at the screen time stats. That's lazy. Do something with yourself. If you're tired, fine. If you've worked a 12-hour day, I mean, that's one thing. Not everybody does. Not everybody does. But everybody almost is sitting on their phone 5 hours a day, 6 hours. I'm being generous. That's lazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm glad you're listening to this.
The podcast listeners are much more productive. If you're a podcast
Most of the
listener,
people
you're
are
probably doing something
listening to
while
it in the
you're
background.
listening.
Yeah, that's great.
It's totally different.
And also listen to Emily's audiobook. Go for it. No, I mean, lazy parenting exists. That's what we have to establish. Sure. Like I think people would have, especially after that video that we put out about the Christmas tree cakes, where I put in the line that you're lazy. The line was, can I explain the line? The line was, moms who put out Christmas tree cakes, send their kids off to school, don't have time for baking. It was a joke. The joke being, oh, you're just too lazy to make your own version of Christmas tree cakes. That shouldn't be triggering to anybody. I'm not sitting here. I did not write that saying, oh, all of you mothers who ever use Christmas tree cakes, you're lazy. It's a joke.
And you weren't talking about working mothers.
Wasn't talking about working. That's the other thing. We got so many messages from, I can't believe you said this about me. I take this personally. I work. Like, yep, weren't talking about you. Really weren't talking about anybody. The character that we painted, we're talking less than 0.1% of the population. They don't really exist that much.
But you are saying that laziness exists. But
that is what I'm saying. I'm saying laziness exists, and people don't like to say that it does.
People don't like, and I 100% agree and see that I can slip into laziness. I can see it. Last night, I wanted to work on my table loom. I've had this loom for 2 years, Jason, and I've never figured out how to warp it because I'm scared I'll mess it up, is what I tell myself.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to mess it up. And like,
so I'll just leave it in the box.
Yeah, so it's just sitting in our little extra junk room and never getting done.
Yeah.
And instead didn't do anything. I really just laid there. I didn't even read.
Yeah.
I just laid there.
Yeah.
You know that time before bed when you're like, I'm just going to close my eyes on the couch just a little bit.
I purposefully don't do that.
It's horrible.
It's
the worst.
Emily takes naps.
I take a nap
before bed. It's like 8:00 at night. I'm just going to take a nap. Well, she doesn't say that. I'm going to close my eyes. But it's like she's totally taking a nap for like 30 or 40 minutes. And then she wakes up, going to bed. So like, you went to bed at 8. But again, that's not a definition.
Laziness.
That's not a definition of laziness. That's just being tired.
No, it was
laziness
because I could have been doing something else. I could have been doing something productive for 30 to 40 minutes instead of just laying there closing my eyes because I was going to bed. Yeah, people are going to feel tired before bed, but you can still do something. I'm not saying you have to work every minute of your life either.
I feel like I have to work every minute of my life. I feel like it's all going to go away if I don't. Like all the good things are just going to go away.
Jason,
Really Very Crunchy will fail if I don't keep working.
Well, that's just a lack of faith, Jason.
Okay. Well, then I'll just not do anything and just have hope that it works.
No, I'm not saying that either.
I'm going to become lazy.
Nuance.
Yeah.
I think one of your biggest parenting wins is when you choose to be silly with the kids.
Oh, yeah. Well,
you can like always get them.
I feel like that falls into smile, really. It's like imagination and movement, really. It's just
some people don't know how to be silly, though.
Oh, people take themselves way too seriously.
And you're really good at that. You're really good at connecting. I think like what it all comes down to is connection.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I was a kid, it was a connection with a paddle to my butt. Can I say something?
Yeah.
I hate it when I see millennials and older be like making their little Facebook post. Well, I was switched when I was a kid and I turned out all right. And it's like, did you? I'm not sure you did.
I don't know if we should get into spanking on this podcast, Jason.
I'm not. I'm just saying that, like, but the proponents of it, though, whether or not, I don't care. Like, y'all do whatever you want to do. But, like, there are some people who are like, man, I was beaten up as a kid so much and I'm okay.
Well, I think it kind of goes into the same idea of kids should be left out sometimes so they can flex that emotion and learn to handle it and how to control it. Kids should lose sometimes. Like, I think that's where they're going with that.
My dad threw me out a window when I was a kid and I'm fine.
Yeah, but
Can't walk.
You think about, like, the people who are like, you know how I learned to swim? My parents threw me in. That's sort of the way that we have approached a lot of those kinds of things. So it's the same idea.
I don't advocate for throwing your kids into pools. I'm just going to say. Without any
but you advocate for pushing them down a water slide or doing things safely.
Yeah,
I understand.
I mean,
I'm just saying it's the same idea. I'm just playing devil's advocate here because you do the same thing to me all the time.
Well, okay. That was just a little rant of mine.
Know.
People are like,
I turned out fine. Are you fine?
Are you
fine?
I'm not sure you're fine. I know what you do. I know how you are. You're not fine. Some of you are. I'm fine.
Had a lot of growth there.
I'm completely fine.
A lot of growth.
Silliness.
You are so good at being silly, but you also slip into sarcasm. And sarcasm has been like a hard parenting lesson for us because
I think that was actually one of my biggest parenting wins was learning and deciding, sarcasm is not good for kids.
Yeah.
It does not. Sarcasm for younger kids, especially when they get older, it's a little different, but they don't understand it
because they really are asking questions that seem
certainly basic. They don't feel loved
mm-hmm.
when you are being sarcastic with them. I learned that pretty quickly because I was very sarcastic all the time, and I was an example. What do airplanes eat watermelons? Yeah, buddy, they eat watermelons. Airplanes eat watermelons through their mouth, and they digest it.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. And it's like the kid's like, okay, I'm sorry. I'll never ask you questions again. So yeah, like that does not show love. It really just what you're saying when you're being sarcastic to a very, very little kid is like, you're stupid. And I don't care about what you had to say. Maybe they did think an airplane ate a watermelon or something, and I'm over here just being the biggest jerk in the world. Like, yeah, kid, 2 years old, you should know this by now. Man, what am I raising? And no, they're not eating raisins. But
the other day we went for a walk and there was ice covering the trees. And like about halfway through my walk, I thought, maybe we shouldn't have gone through a walk in this heavily wooded neighborhood, but I'm going to do it anyway. And like there were several trees down.
Yeah,
no, the trees were down.
Oh, yeah.
Trees had fallen.
They already came down. Yeah.
So we were like coming up to our house and the wind was blowing really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, guys, let's walk really quickly on this side of the road because I'm just worried about the trees. Well, then yesterday we went for a walk.
New fear unlocked.
Yeah, no, the trees are going to fall. I'm like, oh, no, I was not trying to do that.
We live in the woods,
so then
and
I'm
terrified now.
I'm explaining that I was just worried about it because there was ice on the trees. Well, then on our walk, there was still like snow at the base of the trunk. And our 4-year-old's like, there's ice on the tree. And I'm like, no, that's snow. And it's at the base of the trunk. We don't have to worry about it. I promise it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But like kids really are just trying to figure it out.
They're not adults at all.
Yeah.
Which I feel like I'm still trying to figure things out. And it's, sometimes it's not working so great.
So one thing, oh no, that's Whole Brain Child. I'm getting my children's books confused.
Mm-hmm.
But Whole Brain Child talks about the development of the brain and how they're...
I read that one.
Yeah, you liked that one.
Yeah, for the most part.
I don't know that did you read the whole thing?
Yeah. Yeah, I've read it 1.5 times. But the second time through, I'm like, this is boring
Yeah.
to read again. Connect and redirect. It's just the same idea.
Connect.
Connection. Name it to tame it. Don't remember what that is.
I think that has to do with like emotions. You're supposed to talk to them.
Oh, I hate that one.
No, but you're not supposed to do it in the moment.
You're feeling angry right now, little Billy.
No, that's...
I know you want to hit me.
That's not...
We're not gonna hit them.
I don't think that's what... You're supposed to do it when they're calm.
Oh,
You talk about...
I see that you're seething with rage. My voice is gonna make that all better. Telling you about it's gonna fix it.
You're supposed to talk about it in a calm moment, I think. Like, like you were feeling that what you were feeling earlier was embarrassment. And what are some ways we can...
It seems like you have
that?
deep sorrow. Deep, deep sorrow. Tell me more.
It's not supposed to be in the moment, I don't think.
Those
but
are
I didn't
big
finish that book.
tears, buddy.
I didn't finish that book, so I can't really tell you. I did finish Simplicity Parenting.
Here's what it helped me.
And to me, Simplicity Parenting was like, yeah,
declutter, limit screen time, have a rhythm.
It just felt very...
Be a good role model.
Like, yes, this is what parents should do.
Talk less.
But it did give me like, validation in a lot of the choices I've made, except for the decluttering thing. I haven't done that.
We are not validated there.
No, kids are happier if you have like a more simple environment. So Kim Jong Payne says, I think
Kim Jong who?
Kim John Payne, the one who wrote Simplicity Parenting.
Okay.
And I love a lot of what is said in that book, but my kids love a variety of toys. Like, they love to like dig at the bottom of that basket of randomness and just pull it all out. And I haven't seen that whenever I simplify, things are, better for the child or that they're happier. Right. But maybe we just like naturally don't have as much as maybe. I don't know. It's already sort of simple.
I don't go to other people's homes.
Those wooden toys cost a lot of money, so you just can't buy quite as many.
You have one toy this year, child. What I liked about the whole brainchild, I didn't care about most of the concepts really, except for just the main idea of just parenting with their brain in mind. It's really just that idea of like, you can't be sarcastic to kids because they don't understand it. Like, you have to know where they are developmentally to be able to adjust your behavior to them.
Yeah, because you are the leader.
Right. You always tell me, you are the pilot of the airplane. And when you're turbulent, so's the rest of the family. Thanks for that weight, Emily.
Well,
when you go down, we all go down.
I think I heard that on a podcast. Podcasts
are dumb.
If you're thinking about being on an airplane and the pilot comes on and is like freaking out, which we've been in that. We've been in that situation. Oh, it was terrifying. Horrible.
Everybody buckle up.
Everybody buckle up. Like,
you don't say buckle up on an airplane. I hear. You know what I hear? Everyone, we're going down. We're about to crash.
So if you look at your family as if you are the pilot.
Wait, who's the pilot and who's the co-pilot?
I'll be the co-pilot.
Okay. Are you sure? I'm just kidding.
So yeah, if you look at your family that way, then it just goes back to being gentle in your communication.
Not gentle parenting. Nope. Not doing that. That's permissive. Intentional parenting. Mindful parenting.
Maybe it is intentional. Is that what I'm not hip to the trends on parenting
the same
versus
thing. Intentional and mindful is really the same thing. So
I think, which I'm like, yes, parenting should be intentional.
I'm intentionally giving you this iPad.
So have we even helped anyone at all?
Can't confirm, but I hope we at least entertained you.
That's our goal. We need to not go into things like, okay, let's share our hacks, because then we like get to talking and we're like, actually,
Wait, we only have like
we
two.
don't know anything.
Here's the thing: you don't need 1,000 hacks.
True.
You don't need 1,000 parenting hacks.
Days are essentially the same. Like kids have struggles, and then you figure it out.
But at the end of the day, the parenting hack is at the end. Like what you really need is connect with your kids, learn your kids, know your kids.
There's no greater feeling than being known and loved.
Right.
And I think children feel that.
But saying that doesn't, I already know, I hear it right now, doesn't translate to people necessarily. It does to some, but to some others, they're hearing, if you just love your child, it'll all be fine. And that ventures into the permissive thing. People don't, boundaries is showing love.
And
having boundaries is showing love.
People want like an exact formula,
and that's
for
the problem,
how to
because
have
every
boundaries.
kid that's why you have to know your kid,
right? And every child's different. And I hate when I read a parenting book and they're like, Billy did this, and the mom said this, and Billy said, okay.
I actually
that's not how it plays out.
I hate almost all parenting books for the most part. I mean, we have a few in here that have some really good tips, but for the most part, almost every parenting book does this, and it's like, do this interaction. Here's an example of what the child will say, and it has never worked, ever. I will do the interaction verbatim with the right tone, everything, and my kid does the exact opposite of what the book says it's going to happen. And it's like, well, obviously, yeah, it's not going to work the way the book says, but there's no contingency. There's no well, if they completely reject this, then do this. There's nothing like that.
That's why I liked Smile, because it was like,
there's a step
do this.
system.
If that doesn't work, try this. If that doesn't work, try this.
If that doesn't work, frown. Ultimately ending in neglect.
No, I don't remember what to do if none of them worked, because it always worked for me.
Well, yeah, at some point, if none of them work, step back, walk away, give some breathing room, come back and try again. Seriously. Well, that's the other thing too. Is like that one thing I've noticed, especially with a younger one with a pretty hot temperament, is sometimes if you just step back, let them get it out of their system, and then deal with them later about that.
Not too much later. You're talking
minutes later. Like, okay, if Alder is sitting there screaming at me about something, there's no getting to him in his mind. There's no means, like, I'm not talking him down. Maybe movement and playing, maybe. But if he's in a certain headspace, there's no talking him down. The best thing is to, like, for me and him, is for me to just be calm and pretty much do nothing.
That's what I'm saying.
And watch him go through his, like, cycle of calming himself. Maybe give a few instructions of, like, take a deep breath, buddy. You need to breathe through this. Like, scream what you got to scream. Breathe through it. And then he's calm. Everything's good. And then we talk about, like, okay, that wasn't really okay. Let's deal with this. And giving him space, and not all kids require this, but giving him space to finish whatever insanity is going through his brain at the moment is really one of the best tools I've had or learned with him in particular. Didn't necessarily learn that with the other. He's a different kid. That's not really how he goes. He doesn't really go into that crazy screaming fit like Alder does sometimes. Not in the same way.
Yeah. But I noticed that those times when he has struggled like that were times that we weren't being as intentional about, like, as proactive parenting.
Speak for yourself. I'm perfect. I have the flaws of the parent. I'm a flawed parent.
Same.
But we're all doing our best. Stop being lazy. If you're lazy and you're triggered by the lazy word, think about why you're triggered. That's all I'm saying.
Does that go for anything?
Yes.
I feel like if
you're triggered by something, make sure
you need to do some inward work and figure out why that's triggering you.
And maybe it's a legitimate reason. And maybe it doesn't mean that you're, that thing. Maybe it's triggering for a different reason. But if you are triggered, there's a reason. Like, I'm not triggered by the word lazy. People are just triggered.
Lazy.
People are just triggered by the word. It doesn't even matter what context. You say the word lazy and they're mad. They immediately take it personally. But some people are lazy. Think about it. Not to pound that over the head again, but I hope this is beneficial to you in some way. And if it was not, then...
Sorry about that. Next week, we're going to have a guest.
Yeah. So be on the lookout for that one. We're excited to share it. You know what I think? I think we haven't quite reached 1,000 reviews yet. And if people are interested... There is a star system on Spotify. Just hit that 5 stars right there. If you're on YouTube, you can't do that really, but you can drop a comment and just tell us things that you want to tell us, good or bad. And
this episode was real. I say that after I'm like, don't talk about the reviews in this episode.
On Apple,
don't because
hit the stars and write a review. Well,
and
triggered. You can write a review knowing that we aren't perfect. But your 5 stars should be, if you're willing. It'll only take you a minute.
Okay. Thank you so much for hanging in there with us. We hope you have a fantastic week, and we're looking forward to next week.
See you next time.
Thanks.